Hi, I am Tom from the AliveAcademy.com, and in this video I want to show you the real root cause of ADD or ADHD or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, because only when we know the root cause of ADD or ADHD we can heal the root together with the symptoms forever. Because on the internet I see so many videos pointing only at the external causes, and a popular one is, for example, the brain is different. But I've experienced myself that watching these videos with believed solutions didn't solve the actual problem at all. I haven't seen a single video, for example, which explains the actual root cause why our brain reacts the way it does. And it is most likely if you manage to change your external circumstances by numbing them, for example, with medication, you will experience new but similar kind of symptoms. And this is because the root of the problem of ADD or ADHD hasn't been solved within ourselves yet. The diagnosis of ADD and ADHD have risen 66% in the past 10 years. And it is so-called a frontal lobe disorder that you need to learn to live with. Do you actually believe that out of nowhere 66% of our youth have a frontal lobe problem? No, it is a wrong diagnosis, and I will show you why. And do you want to know the real reason why you have difficulties to keep focus, or why you are hyperactive either on the inside or on the outside, or both? Do you want to know why you easily get bored, or why you have difficulty regulating your attention and emotions? Do you want to know the real root cause, why you feel like being in a pinball machine, or why you are getting sidetracked even while you know what to do and have the best intentions? By watching this video, your insight in the real root cause of ADD or ADHD is about to change for you. When we know what the real cause is, we can heal the root and therefore automatically liberate ourselves from every other ADD or ADHD symptom too, such as limited attention, hyperactivity, either on the inside, on the outside, or both, impulsivity, absent-mindedness, forgetfulness, learning disability, not feeling understood, feeling alone, anger, anxiety, boredom, mood swings, depression, etc. Now, according to brain expert Dr. Daniel Amen, we all need a healthy brain if we want to create and experience a great life, a good functioning brain that can take healthy decisions is key. And if you really can't solve your ADD or ADHD at the very root, that I will show you in a little animation later on, then I do suggest you to let a brain scan taken. The brain can also be regenerated with the right nutrition according to Dr. Amen. But most likely, once you choose to solve the root, a brain scan won't be necessary, because you will be set free not only from the symptoms, but also from the victim label. You don't need to feel ashamed for the fact that you suffer from ADD or ADHD, or that you even might be depending on medication like Ritalin or Adderall, because the truth is that almost everybody suffers from any kind of restless distraction disorder sooner or later, and suppresses the symptoms even more with, for example, constantly checking our phones, with working, with sex, with shopping, with alcohol, etc., before the actual root cause is solved. For example, the symptoms of dopamine addiction to technology, distractibility, inability to get things done, shortness of attention, forgetfulness, it's all the same thing. So we misdiagnose things and get stuck and chained to the victim diagnose. It's the addictive quality of dopamine that we get from the instant gratifications from our cell phones. We only want more and more of it. Every bleep it makes or a message you get is another shot of dopamine. If you wake up in the morning or even at night and you check your cell phone, then you might be addicted. When you are in your car and you get a bleep from your cell phone and you have to look at it immediately, you might be addicted to some kind of distractions. We live in a society where everything we want we get immediately. Instant food, instant shopping, instant sex. We get used to get many shots of instant gratification a day that distract us and that we get addicted to. Our brain is literally trained to restlessly hunt in a rat race to the next quick fix of dopamine distraction. But do we ever ask ourselves the question, where do we need to be distracted from? Before we are going to shine the light onto the root of our dark symptom of our attention deficit hyperactivity disorder within, let's go over a few essential steps first to create the best external environment for a good, healthy brain. The first step is pretty obvious. You need a good night's sleep of at least 8 hours. If you're having trouble getting a good night's sleep, the root cause will also become visible too in the following animation. So you will get a clear vision in what direction the solution is to be found. The second step is that 70% of our brain consists out of water. So drinking a lot of fresh water is key to keep our brain healthy. The third step is that eating or drinking sugar, coffee, alcohol, processed food, meat and fat is not good for the brain at all. Eating way more vegetables and drinking a lot of water while reducing sugar, alcohol, meat and fat to the minimum will let you lead a much more healthy and enjoyable life. And the fourth step, everything that is alive flows, like for example our healthy blood flow. And everything that stopped flowing becomes a flat line or is dead. So make sure to let the blood in your brain flow extra, at least 3 times a week, by walking half an hour as if you are late, is enough already. And last but not least, if we stop eating sugar and replace it with getting our daily necessary nutrients instead by eating more vegetables, we won't get any sugar cravings and restore our body and our brain to a healthy balance. Did you know that the increase of our fats in our body decreases the size of our brains? It scares the fat out of you, don't you? So these are very valuable and essential tips to restore your brain to a healthy, flowing state again. But it doesn't solve the root cause of ADD or ADHD yet at all. I used to be so hyperactive that I got hip bursitis. Being all over the place resulted also for me in being so skinny that my joints became thicker than my limbs and that people started laughing at me. Now, the good news is that once the root cause is revealed, we can choose to solve it for once and for all and experience retirement from our Ferrari brains and get a crystal clear vision and focus instead. Do you want to know the real root cause? The real root cause of ADD or ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is restlessness or fear. Fear from feeling something that hasn't been solved yet, that arises to the surface when we are not distracted. Also, being bored means that unpleasant, unsolved emotions arise to the surface when we are not enough distracted away from our unsolved emotions. Now, to end the root of the problem, together with all its symptoms, for once and for all, and therefore to shine the light onto our dark symptom of ADD or ADHD, or fear, or restlessness, I came up with a fundamental animation to show you. I don't want to give you a superficial solution, so I want to take you back to the origin, back to the start, to the moment we were born. Let's represent this heart as a symbol of our free, pure, and fulfilled feelings. From that moment, we experience all kinds of negative and painful emotions. None of us have learned how to solve this pain, and this pain sets around our pure, complete, and fulfilled feelings. Of course, no one of us really want to feel this pain, and that's why we all found a different way of dealing with this. Do you know how? By building a wall of control around it. And how do we build this wall of control? We all know this, I guess. From that moment, we stop living from our feelings and start living from our mind or our thinking. Now let me symbolize this brain for this. From that moment, we use our mind or our thinking non-stop to search for distractions outside of ourselves that have to prevent us from feeling pain again. These distractions or our constant thinking, yes, of course, I should be doing this or I should be doing something otherwise, it wouldn't feel right, so I have to keep doing this or that. This annoying little restless voice inside of our head, I'm sure we all know of, services as a band-aid on top of our wall of control to prevent ourselves from feeling. The problem is that we do not just cover up our pain, but also our pure feelings. And because we are closed up from our feelings, with our thinking now, we don't feel our value and feel empty and unworthy instead. Because we feel empty and unworthy, we start to look for a feeling of fulfillment in all kinds of distractions. For example, by creating success or by distracting ourselves in front of TV, we are looking for a feeling of fulfillment, or by starting a relationship because we'd rather not be alone, because then we are not distracted anymore and then we feel empty and we feel our pain again. So we start searching for a feeling of fulfillment within this relationship too. Or we distract ourselves with sex or porn. Even in simple things like a new smartphone or in a beep that we receive, we search in these short shots of satisfaction for this long-lasting feeling of fulfillment. Also in food, we like to fill us up to feel fulfilled. In a new car or a new house. Strangely, we are searching for a feeling of fulfillment in these things or in these short shots by running away from our feelings. The contradiction shows itself very clearly, yet we do not question ourselves about these choices and the routine that it has become for so many of us. We rather invest all of our money, all of our time and savings to build a life filled with these distractions that never work permanently. That's why we never have spare money, never have spare time or spare savings. Our exhausting efforts create something like a fake replacement identity, a mask of pretending for the feeling that we are actually missing. For example, because we are detached from our feelings, we feel unworthy. So we try to compensate our feeling of unworthiness with wearing a mask of as much value as possible. And this becomes an exhausting replaced identity of ourselves, and we start to believe to have become this illusion. We all know the excitement or the short shot of satisfaction that we get when we buy a new phone or get a new partner. But after a period of time, it doesn't give us the same feeling of fulfillment that we are desperately looking for. So we have to buy the next phone or a car or boat, always hoping by repeating the same pattern that the next thing will give us the feeling of complete fulfillment. The problem arises when a distraction falls away or when we become used to our distraction. Unsolved pain will come through our wall of protection again. And we will non-stop need to replace one distraction after the other. We need to work harder and harder against our will to be able to keep up with continuously buying or finding new distractions as bandages. At the same time, we are so much afraid that we will fail in gathering new distractions and are afraid that our gathered distractions might be taken away from us, because then we would feel our unsolved pain again. And this is where the root of all fear and our imprisonment is born. What is fear? Let's take a closer look. Fear is just the resistance that if we lose control, we won't be able to get our next distraction, or that one of our created distractions will disappear or will be taken away from us. As a result, the band-aid will no longer work, and then obviously we will start to feel the pain again that we haven't resolved yet. So basically, fear is the imprisoning chain between our unsolved feelings and the restless hunt for distractions to cover them up. So let's represent this lock with chains as a symbol of fear. I hope by showing this animation you become aware that fear has a very valuable function. Fear is not only just pretty annoying, it's also a wake-up call that this replacement reality does not work. So as long as we're still experiencing fear, it tells us we are still having unsolved pain and are settling for a replacement reality instead of independently feeling fulfilled and alive in freedom. Now, our unsolved pain is also the root of our imprisonment by money, where we constantly hunt for more money to keep our distractions and to buy new distractions when we are used to the old ones. And this routine is extremely exhausting. We all are aware of this. No wonder that we get addicted to coffee as a stimulant chemical. Now, the problem is the depth of deep sleep that you have when there is caffeine within your brain isn't as deep anymore. So as a consequence, the next morning when we wake up, we don't feel refreshed. And being constantly busy in our mind to hunt for and keep our distractions out of fear to feel unsolved emotions is extremely exhausting for our mind too. It makes sense when we reach for alcohol or even pills to be able to relax, but alcohol is perhaps the most misunderstood drug when it comes to sleep. People think that it helps them fall asleep. That is actually not true. Alcohol is a type of drug we call the sedatives, and what we are doing by drinking alcohol is knocking our brain out. We are not putting it into natural sleep. Alcohol will also cut our sleep into pieces, so we will wake up many more times. And it is also a chemical that blocks our dream sleep, our rapid eye movement sleep, that is required to recharge, to keep our mind sharp and to be able to feel refreshed. Result? Bad night's sleep. Now, to keep up with this pattern, we become also chained to our sedatives and stimulants. Instead of solving the root, we keep directing ourselves away from the root by pointing outside. For example, by blaming, condemning, criticizing, or judging others or society or our external circumstances for our own victim reality. Now, until we reach the point where the alarm signals or diseases become so great that we can go no further. Our body gets cramped, which might result in back pain, neck pain, headaches, muscle and joint pain. And it is almost likely, if we keep ignoring these symptoms, we might end up with a burnout, a depression, chronic fatigue syndrome,
or even get to the point of not wanting to live anymore and commit suicide. If we keep running away from ourselves and our unsolved pain in dis-ease, it will affect our physiology, our immune system goes down, and our body might come up with actual diseases as an alarm signal that we are heading towards the wrong direction. Now, even in this stage of actual diseases, we can keep running away even more from the root cause and suppress our disease symptoms even more with medication to be able to keep heading in the wrong direction. It's obvious this stubborn ignorance is not only self-destructive, will not ever solve the root of the problem at all, but will make you also chained and addicted to medication too. Shining light on a spider web doesn't produce spider webs. It makes them visible so they can be removed. In the same way, shining the light onto the root problem called unsolved pain and its imprisoning, limiting, exhausting chains is to make crystal clear that the fulfilling life that we are naturally born for is not to be found in the direction away from ourselves. On the contrary, this little animation shows with pure logic that true liberation from fear, from restlessness, pain, disease, and addictions lies in the direction of solving the unsolved pain. True liberation lies in the liberation of our true feelings and self-worth for once and for all, so that we can create and enjoy all the abundance that life has to offer in freedom. And the irony and good news is that solving the root of all pain isn't that difficult either. There is actually a way to solve the root of all pain without having to feel nor suppress that pain again. And solving all pain will make all fear to feel pain vanish as well, which will make us feel independently joyful, pure, limitless, and complete again from within. And this is the fundamental base from which we will create the abundant life that we are actually born for naturally out of pure joy.
We know now that all of our fears and diseases are helping signals and serve us with a very valuable message. Our fears and our disease symptoms are here to tell us that the direction that we are going is a wrong and an unhealthy direction. It warns us that if we continue to ignore this wrong and unhealthy direction of disease, that our body might come up with bigger actual diseases. So our fear and our symptoms are here to tell us that the true liberation or the true cure is to be found in the opposite direction, in solving our unsolved pain, so no more fears or any other symptoms can arise until we are completely free again. Or do you believe that by numbing these signals, for example, underneath a blanket of medication, will help us to solve the real problem? Or does it only give a short shot of satisfaction like we have seen in the animation? The more I was trying to create a successful mask, or the more I was trying to run away from my insecurities or from my fears or from my pains into distractions, the more my restlessness or exhausting fears in other forms kept arising and didn't go away. I only started to feel truly liberated, relaxed, filled with joy, filled with self-esteem, and enjoying every little thing around me when I decided to go to the root of my fears, of my pains and relating symptoms, and solve them. Because when we are no longer imprisoned in this exhausting system driven by fear and pain and relating symptoms, we will feel independently filled with joy. And when we only feel joy without the fear, without the pain, there won't be any obstructions left to create whatever belongs to us naturally. And when we create out of joy, without any obstructions, success and abundance are just logical, natural consequences. So basically, liberating ourselves from this limiting imprisonment by fear, by restlessness, by pain is the key to go from limitations and scarcity to natural abundance. Or do you think that liberation comes from running even harder against our will in the wrong direction out of fear? Everyone can make this happen for themselves, regardless the current situation. So you don't need to cultivate it. We don't have to be rich or try really, really hard. We don't need to change our relationship or the place where we are living. We don't need to change the way we look. Of course, we are free to do any of this, but it's not required at all. Just understanding how we can go past the root of our fear, our pain, our restlessness, and distractions and addictions is enough. Now, this video is limited in time, but do you want to know how to immediately get past the symptom of fear whenever it occurs? Or do you want to know the truth about fear and pain that will set your mind free? Well, then click on the link above, below, or at the end of this video, depending on where you look at this. And this will take you to my blog at www.alive-academy.com. And from there, I will be able to send you 4 videos free of charge. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to help me liberate even more people from fears, from restlessness, from pain and distracting addictions and medication by making the real root cause and the unhealthy wrong direction visible, please share this video with your friends. Now click on the link and I will see you in the next video.